Hey, hey, it's Steffi Star. I am high atop the rooftop terrace at the crib, and I wanted to pop on and talk about the VP debate. Now, based on the work that I do, based on the life that I live, I don't get too involved in the political scene. However, I like to keep my ear to the ground, if you will, to kind of see what's happening in the general population, understand the temperature and the energy of what's going on currently. And I did watch the presidential debate, and I also tuned in a little late, but I did catch the VP debate, the majority of it. So as a 57-year-old lady who's been here for quite some time, I wanted to kind of, last night was different. Last night was something I haven't seen in a very long time. It's something that I almost forgot is possible. If you watched the VP debate, if you saw Senator Vance and Governor Walz debate one another, that is the way it used to be. We could disagree. We definitely saw things from a different perspective, depending on which side of the quote-unquote aisle we held our beliefs. However, there was a mutual respect, always. There was actually a camaraderie and a friendship. A friend of mine who is 77 reminded me this morning of the fact that Ronald Reagan, staunch Republican, as we all well know, used to debate fiercely in the Senate, used to see very differently from the Speaker of the House, who at the time was Tip O'Neill, a staunch Democrat. They would have their disagreements, they would have their comeuppance, and then they would go to dinner together. They actually enjoyed one another, enjoyed each other's company. They just saw things differently. And that's the world in which I grew up. I no longer ascribe to a political party. I actually understand from a fifth dimensional perspective that, and it's going to sound a little crazy, none of that actually matters, really, in the grand scheme of infinity, in the wider breadth of how it is we perceive or experience here in the earth realm. Who sits behind what desk in which office at any point on the planet really is not as important. Hello, hawk. Oh my God, I do live in an amazing spot. Just had a hawk flying around. Welcome, brother. This is all an illusion. Like who you are, your lists of nouns, adjectives, and labels that you think makes up you, the name that comes on a birth certificate, the name on a social security card. Yeah, that's you, but that's an avatar. That's a mask that we wear as infinite, ethereal, energetic beings coming into this realm to have the experience of what I call the chaos carnival. We leave perfection. We leave pure, energetic, infinite love and light specifically to come into a dark, material, temporal world, so that we can better understand our infinite energetic nature. So at the end of the day, the game of America, the game of other continents, other countries, other governmental agencies. Yeah, I know I'm going out on a limb. I got way off schedule and way off topic. That's not real. That's ultimately not what matters. It's not what we came here for. We came here to be what we are by becoming that which we are not. We are infinite, immaterial, energetic expressions of light. That's what I am. That's what every quote-unquote other walking around the planet is. There are no others, by the way. There are only mirrors. If I'm going to go off point, I might as well go way off point. But what I saw last night is part of why we're here, because I grew up in an America where you could disagree, where you could hold a differing opinion on really, really seemingly important topics like immigration, like the economy, like medical rights and abortion rights, equality for all, a country of law and order. I saw two men diametrically opposed in belief and theory, who respectfully interacted with one another from a place of humility and deference. I saw both Senator Vance and Governor Walz relate to one another as human beings, not as the amalgam, not as the personification of an entire set of beliefs and ideals. It was two people having an informed discussion with one another from a place of what appeared to me to be mutual respect in spite of disagreements. That's possible. What I saw last night brings tears to my eyes, because the energy in which we're living now is so toxic. It's so divisive. We have been set family against family, husband against wife, neighbor against neighbor, because of the sign in your yard, because of the hat or the t-shirt that you wear, because of a flag. That is not the America I grew up in, and that is an America that I thought we lost. And I watched two men restore my belief that we can go back to what was right and good and beautiful about America. Now, I will say, and I don't want to pick on one person, I don't want to pick on a group of people, I don't want to pick on an ideology. You are entitled to vote your conscience. You are entitled to have your beliefs based on the life you've lived, the experiences you've had, the way in which you would like to see your children or your family's children grow up if you don't have children of your own. I do not. I chose not to have children. The whole childless cat lady, like, sign me up. I am one. I didn't have children because I knew I wouldn't do it right. I knew how I grew up. I knew that we don't necessarily not become our parents. In fact, the tendency is to do what we know. And while we may improve in many regards, we still make the same mistakes that have been made by those who came before us. And I made a decision not to inflict that on another generation. I made a decision to heal what was broken in me as a result of the way in which I was brought up. So bringing a child, and I wish people would say they're having a human being instead of they're having a baby. You're not having a baby. You're going to have a baby for about 15 minutes, and then you're going to have a human being. And that human being can grow up to become anything. President, Pope, serial killer. Nobody would pick to have the serial killer, but obviously we have them. They're here. So, yeah, I chose not to have children. But that doesn't mean I'm not deeply invested in the way in which, in the place in which my nieces will grow up. It doesn't mean I'm not deeply invested in just the preservation of a democratic republic called America and its place in the world, its hope, and its promise that is not just reflected to its citizens, it's reflected throughout the entire globe. People want to come here. As horrible as you might think America is right now, people are dying literally and figuratively from all over the world to come here. So what JD and Tim did last night was show us that it's possible to go back to that energy, that spirit, that acquiescence to the rights of another person to believe what they believe. Was a far cry from the presidential debate, for sure. Kamala and Donald. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch when you've grown up in the world in which I grew up. It's hard to realize that that's where we're at today. But we don't have to stay there. We obviously do not have to stay there. There is a petulant child. There is a wounded inner child energy that is a reflection of all of us in this country. All of us possess that wounded inner child. I don't care how you grew up. I don't care how cushy or not cushy it was. We all have a wounded inner child. I do this work every single day as a psychedelic ceremony facilitator. I deal with people's inner conflict, their wounds, the bully that lives inside their own head. Because trust me, there isn't a jail cell on the planet. There is not a bully in the world who is worse than the jail cell of the mind and the bully that lives up here. I help people overcome being in their own jail cell. I help people evict the bully in their head. And there is, in the personification of a single individual running for president right now, that wounded inner child energy run amok. I love him. I know who he is. I know what he is because I know what I am, and because I know myself. I have nothing bad to say about the president personally, but he is a manifestation of the wounded child energy which all of us carry. He just so happens to be out, about, with the power to put back together or destroy the way in which we live. It's the kid who walks into the room, breaks all the toys, and then complains that all the toys are broken. Because we got used to a certain energy when he showed up on the political scene. It was different when he showed up. People have disagreed. People have challenged one another vehemently as long as we've been a republic. But it went to a whole different lower level when Trump walked in the door. And yet, you know, listen, there's a reason why we love the bad boys. There's a reason why we love the villains in the movies. It's not that people love him. It's that people are attracted to that energy for myriad reasons. And think back at a certain point in your life, even if you're no longer there, there was a time where you were attracted to that as well. It's no wonder he's garnered half of the population's attention to the degree that he has. I'm not confused by why people believe one way or the other and support one candidate versus the other. But boy, oh boy, it doesn't have to be the way it is. It absolutely does not have to be that way. We are not destined to move into a future of division and separation. And yet today, even on the news, they wanted to mitigate the kind of kumbaya that we saw last night on TV. Because, you know, if it bleeds, it leads. Media cannot afford to have us thinking that we can repair this division, because this division is filling their coffers. So I'm going to make a plea, and I am going to extend an invitation to anybody watching this video. Pull yourself back together. Reconcile with your neighbor who believes differently than you. Go to Thanksgiving this year and sit at the table with the people that you think you can't sit there with. They're you. They're a version of you. There are no others in real reality. There are only mirrors. There aren't triggers. There's only reflections. If you don't like what you see when you look at Joe Schmo or Jane Doe, that's in you. There's an aspect of it that is absolutely in you. So instead of pushing away the reflection, instead of shooting the messenger, look inward. Go inside. Ask yourself, honestly, searingly, where is this in me? Because I wouldn't be having the reaction I'm having if it didn't exist somewhere in the nooks and crannies of insert your name here. I'm Steffi Starr. I founded The Way Home. It's an intentional community in Palm Beach County, Florida. We do altered state ceremonies here. We get people out of the 3D, analytical, compulsive mind into the wider, brighter, lighter dimension of interconnected, real reality, infinity, You are an infinite, energetic being jammed down into temporal form and construct. It looks real out here. It's not. If it's real, you can't touch it, because what's real lasts forever. Nothing here is real. Everything here is on its way out, even if you're the first thing to go. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I kind of had to put this out there, even though it's not really my jam. But I saw something that we need. Again, I saw a glimmer of it for an hour and 15 minutes. And if you saw it, find a way to expand it. Find a way to integrate it back into your awareness. That's what I got. You are seen. You are loved. Aho.